I was living by myself that winter, about 3 years ago, early December, right before the holidays. I'd been working late almost every night, so when a snowstorm rolled in, I figured I'd just stay home, cook something simple, and catch up on stuff around the house. My neighborhood was dead quiet, mostly older couples and retirees who didn't go out much once winter hit. Around 9 p.m., I stepped into the living room and noticed headlights creeping slowly down my street. At first, I assumed it was a snowplow, but as it got closer, I realized it was just an old white pickup with a cheap plow attachment bolted to the front. No company name, no flashing lights, just a dented bumper and rust along the sides. It rolled past my house slowly enough that I figured the driver was lost or checking an address. 10 minutes later, it came back. This time it crawled by even slower. When it reached the end of my driveway, it paused for a second, like the driver was studying the house, or me. I shut the blinds. I wasn't scared yet, just irritated, assuming it was some guy looking to make extra cash plowing driveways. About 20 minutes later, there was a knock, soft, polite, barely audible over the wind. I froze. Nobody knocks that late unless something's wrong. I looked through the peephole. No one there. Weird, but I let it go. Then another knock, this time at the window beside the door. A few quick taps. I cracked the blinds, expecting someone to be standing inches from the glass. Nothing. Just fresh snow piling across the porch. I went back to the kitchen, trying to convince myself it was dumb kids messing around. Worst-case thoughts crept in, the kind everyone gets when it's dark and storming, but I pushed them away. Then a knock at the back door, 15 feet from where I was standing. I grabbed the biggest knife I owned and walked toward the door. Nobody there. But in the snow were fresh footprints leading straight up to the glass. Just one set. No tracks going away. No trail back. Just steps that ended at my door. Every muscle in my body locked up. I turned off the lights, trying to make it look like I wasn't home, even though it was obvious someone already knew I was. Another knock, side window near the dining room. Same rhythm, same force. I checked again. Nothing. But I swear I saw the edge of a coat slip around the corner of the house, too fast to make out details. I wanted to call the police, but I didn't want to sound paranoid. Maybe it was some drunk guy or confused neighbor. I waited another hour. No more knocking. No truck. Silence. Close to midnight, I went down to my finished basement to unwind. It was cozy down there, with a sliding glass door that opened to the backyard. I sat at my PC and got lost in videos. About an hour later, a horrible feeling crept up my spine, like someone was standing behind me. I slowly turned in my chair. In the reflection of my monitor, I saw it, a dark silhouette standing outside the sliding glass door, completely still, facing me. My stomach dropped. I spun around and caught a clearer glimpse, a man in a heavy coat, hood pulled tight. Before my eyes adjusted, he stepped out of view. I called 911 immediately. While whispering to the dispatcher, I heard metal scraping upstairs. My front door lock. Someone trying to force it. I told her someone was breaking in. She told me to get somewhere safe. Then I heard the door creak open. Footsteps. Heavy. Fast. Laughing. I backed toward the basement stairs and dropped my phone. Panic hit so hard I couldn't even think. I threw on my snow boots and coat. Luckily they were downstairs, and bolted out through the sliding door. I ran across the yard, slipping in the snow, straight to my neighbor's house. They let me in after I pounded on their door like a lunatic. We called police. When officers cleared my house, the man was gone. Inside, everything was destroyed. Not stolen, destroyed. Cabinets ripped open, couch slashed, drawers dumped, mattress flipped, clothes everywhere. My computer knocked over, my phone smashed. On the whiteboard in my living room, he'd written, "I'll be back, sleep tight." The cops told me not to stay there. I didn't argue. I moved out within a week. They found footprints circling my house multiple times that night. Same tread pattern at every door he knocked on. They never caught him. What bothers me most isn't the knocking. It's knowing he'd been studying my house that entire night, learning the layout, timing the knocks, waiting for the perfect moment. I haven't lived alone since, and I don't think I ever will again. The storm knocked out power overnight. When I woke up, every house on the street was dark, except mine. My generator had kicked on. I didn't even realize the outage until I looked outside. Around 9 a.m., someone knocked. A man I vaguely recognized from down the street stood there with 2 kids. They looked freezing. "Our heat's out," he said. "Mind if we warm up for a bit?" I said yes before I fully processed it. The kids looked miserable. He introduced himself as Mark. The kids, Lucas and Maya, barely spoke. They kept glancing at him before doing anything. He asked if I lived alone. I said yes. He nodded like he'd expected that answer. They stayed all day while the storm worsened. By night, I offered the guest room to Mark and the couch to the kids. Around 1 a.m., my bedroom door creaked open. Mark stood there in the dark, said he was hungry and wanted to make a sandwich. His voice sounded off, flat. I heard no kitchen noises after he left. Later, I woke up to someone breathing over me. A masked figure in black leaned over my bed. I screamed. He grabbed my wrist and whispered, "Calm down." It was Mark. I kicked him and rolled off the bed. He yanked me back. Then I heard one of the kids scream, "Stop hurting her!" "We called the police," the girl cried. Mark froze, then ran. Police arrived fast and tackled him in the snow. Inside, the kids were shaking. An officer later told me something that made my blood run cold. They weren't his children. They matched 2 missing kids from another state. Gone for years. When they walked Mark past me in handcuffs, he looked annoyed, not scared. "You weren't supposed to wake up," he whispered. And the way he said it, calm, almost bored, made me realize something horrible. He didn't panic, he just miscalculated. I moved into that house because it was cheap and quiet. It sat at the end of a dead-end road, backyard stretching to a line of trees. Behind that, just woods. In summer it felt peaceful. In winter, it felt like the world ended at those trees. Last January, it snowed almost every day. I work from home, so I barely left the house for days at a time. The first night I noticed it, there was a faint glow in the woods, low and steady. Not car headlights, more like a lantern sitting still between the trees. It didn't move. After a minute, it went out softly, like someone covered it. The next morning, I found boot prints in my yard. They came out of the woods, traced along my fence, then disappeared back into the trees, not near the house, just circling. 2 nights later, the light came back, same area. This time it drifted slowly behind the trees before stopping. Next morning, more prints, straight lines, back and forth pacing in the center of my yard. Snow stomped flat. This became a pattern. Light at night, tracks in the morning, never approaching the doors, just hovering at the edge of my comfort zone. After a week, I barely slept. One night around 3 a.m. I snapped. I threw on boots, grabbed a flashlight, and walked straight out toward the glow. In the trees, I found a small campfire, and a man sitting beside it, heavy coat, hood up, blank stare. "You're on my property?" I said. He blinked. "Didn't know you'd come out." He'd been camping there for days. Tarp strung between trees, sleeping bag, crate. "I like the trees," he said. "Good cover." The way he said cover made my stomach twist. When I told him I'd call the cops if he was there tomorrow, he just said, "Okay," and turned back to the fire. Next morning, he was gone. But his stuff wasn't. In the crate were photographs, my house, from multiple angles, day and night, close-ups of my windows, photos of me inside, at my desk, on the porch, eating in the kitchen. There were pages of notes. My address written at the top. Lives alone, good. No dog. Schedule predictable. Lights off by 1 a.m. One page read, came out tonight. Nervous but brave, time to move on, leave gear and loop back later. I called the police. They found drugs, a hunting knife, a ski mask. Some of the addresses in his notebook matched break-ins in another town. Suspicious person calls. They never caught him. Sometimes I think about that line, time to move on, like I was just one stop, one pattern studied and logged. Somewhere out there, there's probably another small fire burning behind someone else's house.